The Secret of Vril. Donald Marshall claims that there's a secret that has been kept by members of the Illuminati for more than 70 years, a secret of such great importance, as to affect the lives of every man, woman and child on the face of the planet. Marshall states that his mission in life is to share this secret with the world, so that all can know the truth and plan for the future. In order to fully understand this secret, it will be necessary to return to the events of post-war Germany, following the end of World War I, where, in 1923, Hitler was named the leader of the new Nazi Party. Following a failed attempt to overthrow the federal government, Hitler was arrested for treason. While awaiting trial in Landsberg prison, he read Bulwer-Lytton's 1871 novel, Vril, The Power of the Coming Race, about a master race of beings who called themselves the Vrilia. They claim to be the descendants of the inhabitants of ancient Atlantis, with access to an extraordinary force called Vril, an unlimited source of energy that supplies all their needs and can be controlled at will. Hitler believed the novel to be true, and once made Chancellor of Germany, he would send teams of spelunkers into caves and mines all over Europe searching for the Vrilia. He dispatched regular expeditions to Asia, especially Tibet, where Nazi explorers made significant connections with influential Tibetan lamas, who had expert knowledge about the underground tunnel and cavern systems around the world. Legend was these Tibetan lamas guarded a secret entrance to the inner world, known as the Red Door, hidden within the Potala Palace in the mountain city of Lhasa. Once a Nazi-Tibetan alliance was formed, the lamas agreed to share with them that for centuries, they had been helping to hide an indigenous race of lizard living deep within the planet since prehistoric times, known as Vril lizards. It seems that these lizards knew the location of an abandoned military base dating back from the time of Atlantis, filled with ancient aircraft, weaponry and technology hidden within the tunnels and caverns of Antarctica. The lizards had no use for the tech, but they were willing to trade for something else they wanted. The lizards were carnivorous and preferred to consume fresh human flesh. And so, a deal was made. The Nazis got the ancient Atlantean tech and sold out the human race. But according to Marshall, this is not the first time Vril lizards have interacted with humans. He claims that for centuries, royalty, powerful heads of state and trusted religious leaders around the world have kept a secret pact with the malevolent lizards. World leaders would receive valuable resources buried deep within the planet, such as gemstones, gold and other minerals, and, in exchange, these leaders would conceal all evidence of the Vril from the surface population, so no one would learn of their existence. In addition to helping them hide, Vril lizards required that they be provided with a steady supply of humans to consume. However, Marshall says that keeping the secret of Vril not only refers to hiding the lizards and denying their existence, but also refers to an even bigger secret. Being a parasitic race, Vril lizards have the unique biological ability to invade the human body, take over the brain, and by accessing their memories, they can look, act and seem human in every way. After a period of recovery, the human is able to return to its normal activities, except the brain is now under the complete control of the Vril parasite. Much like the 1956 sci-fi classic The Invasion of the Body Snatchers, in which the inhabitants of a small California town are replaced, one by one, with identical copies of themselves, Marshall warns us that we've already been invaded, we just don't know it. Marshall explains that Vril lizards are essentially parasites, and like all parasites, have a biological drive to invade, dominate and take over. Marshall refers to this biological takeover as body snatching and explains that the human victim dies once the Vril lizard takes over. Marshall says that with the help of the Illuminati, body-snatching Vril lizards have infiltrated all levels of society and hold positions of power all over the world. This is done in order to remove key people and replace them with Vril hosts. Marshall states that Vril hosts can be found everywhere, in all levels of government, business, banking, military, law enforcement, journalism, media and entertainment. Just how is this body-snatching process accomplished? According to Marshall, Vril lizards have a natural proboscis at the top of their head, from which they inject a type of thick cerebrospinal fluid. When this fluid enters the human, usually through the eye and from there, to the brain, a chemical transformation immediately begins to take place. The victim essentially dies, leaving the lizard parasite in complete control of all brain function. After a period of recovery, the Vril host can return to its regular activities, looking, acting and seeming completely normal. Marshall reports that the Illuminati even hold a special body-snatching ceremony to celebrate this Vril lizard takeover. Guests watch as the victim, conscious, though usually bound, is restrained and forced to sit still, until the lizard transfer is complete. Marshall claims to have seen this sick body-snatching ceremony many times. Marshall claims that the Illuminati body-snatch many people, in every country, all over the world. They sometimes choose victims from incarcerated prisoners or long-term patients in hospitals and medical facilities. Anywhere they have easy access to people, they will body-snatch and replace them with a Vril host. Anyone can be body-snatched and, according to Marshall, he's even seen this done to young children. Furthermore, Marshall claims that all loyal families within the Illuminati are expected to offer one of their children to be replaced by a Vril host. They comply since there is the unspoken threat that should they prove to be difficult, they can be body-snatched at any time. Marshall says he has even seen body-snatching done with just a couple of guys holding someone down while the victim is screaming. No ceremony required. According to Marshall, the Illuminati utilize this unique parasitic ability of the lizards to further their own dark agenda. They are able to remove those resistant to their goals without anyone even noticing, and with Vril body-snatching, the troublesome person is now replaced with an Illuminati spy, infinitely loyal and willing to report back everything they see and hear. It is crucial to understand Vril lizard psychology, since Marshall maintains that all Vril lizards want to be human. They admire human intelligence and the beautiful human form. They want to crawl out from deep underground into the light and walk unnoticed among humanity. However, they are not human and have no capacity to feel human emotions. In fact, as malevolent lizards, they enjoy causing pain and suffering. Marshall reveals that Vril hosts are responsible for much of the senseless crimes and spree killings that occur. However, Vril hosts are excellent mimics and make convincing humans. And since there is no way to detect the presence of a Vril host, except with an MRI scan of the brain, most members of the Illuminati pretend to like the lizards and are friendly to Vril hosts, since no one is ever certain if they are talking to a host or human. According to Marshall, prehistoric Vril lizards have been body-snatching humans throughout history, even during ancient times. He claims that they are, in part, responsible for the destruction of the island of Atlantis, where legend tells lived an advanced civilization that existed in the Atlantic Ocean. Marshall reports that Vril hosts had body-snatched and infiltrated their way into positions of power throughout Atlantean culture, where they destroyed themselves with advanced weaponry, causing cataclysmic flooding and earthquakes. Marshall asserts that Vril lizards often infiltrate human societies, by targeting individuals in the ruling class, royalty or priesthood. Once they are in positions of power, Vril lizards attempt to convince the humans to worship them as either gods or demons, something to be feared and obeyed without question. As gods, Vril lizards will demand human sacrifices as a show of loyalty and devotion. In these cultures, it was considered an honor to be body-snatched and chosen to become a god. The people didn't understand the biological nature of the takeover of the brain, and thought it was some kind of mystical or magical transformation. As demons, Vril lizards were deeply feared. Old legends warn travelers against going into certain haunted caves and mountains, and to beware when darkness falls, as this was the time when demons would creep about, stealing babies and livestock. When Vril lizards would body-snatch a victim, the person was later said to be demon-possessed and various means would be attempted to drive the demons out. Many cultures around the world attempted to limit Vril lizard infestation, and Marshall says most, at some point, started sharpening pointy sticks. For example, the Hopi Indian culture successfully drove off Vril lizards, while the ancient Anasazi Indians of New Mexico were forced to leave behind their elaborate cliff dwellings in order to relocate far away from nearby Vril-infested caves. Throughout history, the lizards stayed hidden underground, in dark caves and tunnels, trying to avoid discovery. Some royal families kept Vril lizards as pets, and used them to instill fear in those not showing the proper loyalty to the crown. Some world religious leaders also knew of the lizards, had secret alliances with them, and agreed to help them. In the 1940s, a secret pact was forged between the Nazis and the lizards, making them mutual allies. Conditions of the pact required directing tremendous resources to assist the Vril lizards, including the building of deep, underground military bases worldwide. This would allow the lizards a way to interact directly with humans, which, in turn, would permit the massive, government-sponsored body snatching so prevalent around the world today. If we can assume that all of this is true, that body-snatching malevolent lizards have infiltrated human society and are replacing us, one by one, without raising any alarm, one might ask, wouldn't someone try to tell people and save humanity? According to Marshall, President Ronald Reagan tried to warn the public on numerous occasions from 1985 to 1988. In an important speech to the United Nations General Assembly on September 21, 1987, at the height of the Star Wars space race with Russia, Reagan mused, "In our obsession with the antagonisms of the moment, we often forget how much unites all the members of humanity. Perhaps we need some outside, universal threat to make us recognize this common bond. I occasionally think how quickly our differences would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside of this world. And yet I ask, is not an alien force already among us? What could be more alien to the universal aspirations of our people than war and the threat of war?" Marshall states that the Illuminati forgave Reagan's comments at first, but when he continued to talk about aliens living among us, they blew his mind and called it Alzheimer's. Marshall encourages us to remember the ultimate Vril lizard agenda, which he claims has remained unchanged for centuries, to infiltrate human society and take over the planet. Marshall warns us to act quickly to spread the news, as anyone can be body snatched. As the ending from The Invasion of the Body Snatchers warns us, they're already here. You're next.